Aloha everyone, welcome back to my channel, Astrology Dome. And today I'm going to talk to you about the lunar eclipse we're going to have on November 8th at 16 degrees of Taurus. What I'd like to show you today is that there is a sequence in eclipses. This is something that many of you don't really realize. And I think it's important to the story of this particular eclipse and in general to understand how eclipses sequences are affecting us humans here on Earth. So what I'd like to share is the sequence of this particular eclipse in the axis of Taurus and Scorpio. Let's see where it began and where is it going to take us and why it takes a sequence to affect such immense changes as eclipses do. So there is a story behind every eclipse, and this particular story is running on the axis of Taurus, where this lunar eclipse is going to take place, and Scorpio, where we just had a solar eclipse on October 25th, and they are related. So eclipses can only happen where the north and the south node of the moon are. That means the south and the north node of the moon are changing signs every year and a half. And so eclipses will fall either in the north node, and that will be called a north node eclipse, or in the south node of the moon, that will be called the south node eclipse. And since the nodes are changing signs every year and a half, there is a series of eclipses that will happen in those positions of the north and south node, and they would help us humans shape the new paradigm and create a shift in our paradigm in this particular axis, in those particular traits. So what is the Scorpio-Taurus axis? Let's talk about that first. Taurus-Scorpio axis. Let's look at the eclipses that we had in this axis recently, in the last years. On November 19, 2021, we had a lunar eclipse at 27 degrees Taurus, the first one in this axis. On April 30th, 2022, we had a solar eclipse at 10 degrees Taurus. Then on May 16th, 2022, we had another lunar eclipse, 25 degrees Scorpio. You see how this eclipse at 25 Scorpio is actually the answer to this eclipse at 27 Taurus. You see the correlation, how they start creating a pattern? Let's continue. On October 25th, 2022, we just had a solar eclipse at 2 degrees Scorpio. Then on November 8th, this is the eclipse that I'm going to show you the chart and we're going to talk about in this video. We have an eclipse at 16 degrees Taurus. And then on May 5th, 2023, we're going to have another lunar eclipse at 14 degrees Scorpio. You see the correlation between this eclipse and this eclipse? Almost opposite completely, right? 16 and 14 degrees of the same axis. So there is a sensitizing of a point, 16 degrees Taurus right now, and something will happen as a reply on 5/5/2023 at 14 degrees Scorpio, just across. So what is this pattern? And then we have the last one in the series on November 28, 2023, that's a year from now, a lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Taurus, that we can definitely relate to the 2 degrees Scorpio. So I think you can see the pattern of the eclipses running on the same axis. And once they'll fall in Scorpio, once they'll fall in Taurus. And this is like a seesaw motion. They want to show us some issues about the Taurus placement and about the Scorpio placement in our chart as individuals and as a collective. So what is the Taurus Scorpio axis? What is it all about? So, you know, Taurus is the second sign, and so it rules naturally the second house. So in a baby's life, if a baby is born and the first moment of birth would be the ascendant, and the first 2.5 years would be the Aries, the first house, the second house would be kind of the terrible twos until the 4 years old. And that stage of development is all about attachment. It's all about how we create security in our life. Because if somebody took care of us or didn't take care of us well enough at that particular stage of our development, we will develop some negative pattern about attachment, about self-value. Am I worthy to be taken care of? About what is our worth in the world eventually. That will ripple out to what can we achieve or not achieve in the world. That will ripple out to the money we create as a result of putting our energy out there. So you see why Taurus is considered to deal with finances and money, because Taurus is all about self-worth. What am I worth? And we learn self-worth when we are children, when we are infants, when we do not have a conscious individual structure yet. We are building that. And so whatever happened to us as infants will greatly affect us towards the future and how we'll behave in the future and what we'll believe our value is. So that axis of Taurus and Scorpio is all about giving and receiving. If we were children at that particular young age and we were not given the proper nourishment, the proper love, the proper protection, how can we grow up to be adults that can receive that? We don't know what it means to be protected and contained and loved and valued. So we're not sure about how to go about looking for it and receiving it from the world. So what will it create in our life, this imbalance of giving and receiving? Obviously, we're not going to be aware of that, but it will create some sort of a trauma that we will seek healing for that trauma as we grow up. So we will try all kinds of relationships that will mimic that first unsuccessful relationship that we had, and that will create a reliving of that trauma. We will relive that pattern of not being good enough, of not receiving what we need, because we are learning how to fix that early childhood trauma. So our giving and receiving axis, which is this Taurus Scorpio, would be kind of out of balance until we learn how to do it differently. And we'll have to relearn what it is to be worthy and to be good enough to receive whatever we want. So the ownership and exchange, that is another part of this Taurus Scorpio axis. Taurus is all about ownership. Taurus wants to own things because it wants to feel secure. So again, we're back to the trauma of not feeling secure, right? Why do Taurus wants to have real estate and beautiful things and enjoy the good things in life? Because it is the basis for its security. So by accumulating stuff, Taurus is actually doing the work of an emotional security that it wants to feel. So everybody who's the Taurus sun sign, moon sign, ascendant sign, personal planets in Taurus, those planets are important placements for us to receive and to own something to allow ourselves to feel secure. This is the basis. This is why we do security. Exchange is about the Scorpio position. So all of you guys that have personal planets in Scorpio are learning how to exchange with another the ownership of whatever it is that you have. And that is not easy, because if you exchange something with somebody else, that means you're giving parts of yourself to that person. So what are you getting back? Are you going to be afraid that you're not going to get back enough value? Again, a Taurus word. Or are you trying that dance with another, seeing what kind of an exchange you can have with another? So this exchange can mean financial exchange, can mean soul love exchange, can mean sexuality exchange. You see, all those keywords are Scorpio keywords. So it's really important to understand that axis on deeper levels, because that is the basis for this eclipse or any happening that are going through that axis in your chart. Another very important thing is the natural rhythm of incorporation and elimination. What does Taurus want? It wants to incorporate stuff to itself. Taurus are considered hoarders, collectors, because they want to bring stuff to themselves. On the other side, we have Scorpio. Scorpio is responsible for elimination, getting rid of stuff that we don't need anymore, be it psychological patterns, emotional patterns, or even material things that we don't need. It's the elimination part of our chart. Changing and transforming is the Scorpio department, isn't it? Then we have retention and release, same patterns. Taurus would be the retention part and Scorpio would be the release part. And this is a fixed axis, so it's always powerful. It is always so deep. It is dealing with stuff that is really, really deep for us, be it on an emotional, mental, or physical level. We're dealing with extremes in the Scorpio axis. We always deal with things that are so hard for us to transform, yet once they're transformed, we're dealing with extreme healing as well. So Scorpio can be the darkest of the darkness, but it can be the highest of the healing, the understanding of pure essence of the soul and why we came here, of our purpose. So I'd like to sum this part up with this sentence. It's the capacity to weather emotional storms. If you heal your Taurus house and you heal your Scorpio house, you are becoming resilient. And resilience is part of the Scorpio vocabulary. This is what Scorpios are learning in this lifetime. So if you're a Scorpio and you have strong Scorpio placements or strong 8th house placements, you are learning how to become resilient. And therefore, this time in our life that we have the axis of Taurus, Scorpio, so sensitized by those eclipses, is a very pivotal time on the planet for you as an individual and for us as a collective. We are shifting our perspective. We are shifting a paradigm of maybe 2,000 years of running, maybe more than 2,000 years of running the patriarchal archetype on this planet, where the male, the sacred male essence that was supposed to be the hunter, the protector, the one that holds the family together, this is the sacred male archetype, has turned to become greed and power and out of control and destructive and war-oriented. And this is the representation that we see on the planet right now. But as we move to the age of Aquarius, which is the age of equality, the age of understanding, the age of coming as a community for the people, we need to transform that male archetype that became too domineering and too aggressive and out of balance, putting down the female, the sacred female archetype instead of merging with that female archetype. We need to bring up the sacred femininity into the planet in order to bring balance. And that's the story of the Taurus Scorpio and why we're having those eclipses in this axis. I'm going to share my screen to show you the relevant lunar eclipse that we're having on November 8th at 16 degrees Scorpio, so we can delve into it together. So that's it. That's the lunar eclipse on November 8th at 3:02 a.m. Pacific time. I made this chart for Los Angeles. You can cast the chart for wherever you are in the world. What's important in this eclipse? Look at that Scorpio part, and that is the Taurus part. Do you see the heavy load information that's coming from here and here? And of course, we have a T-square to Saturn, which Uranus had this square for quite a while, almost 2 years. We're experiencing that square because Saturn is actually the middle responsible adult here in this chart, saying, you know, guys, whatever is going on here, I will make sure that we'll put it into form, we'll put it into a structure for the Aquarius age. It is so obvious in this chart. But let's delineate what's going on in the eclipse chart first. So where is the sun? Always look for the sun. The sun is the purpose of the chart. Where is the sun? The sun is conjunct Venus at 20 degrees Scorpio and conjunct Mercury and conjunct the South Node. So the sun is saying right away, and it's in elimination sign Scorpio. So the sun is saying right away, it's saying, guys, you need to eliminate, you need to change, you need to shift, you need to transform. What are you transforming? Old patterns of thinking, Mercury, that you're attached to, Scorpio, attachment, and that are not helpful for you, that they're putting you in a place of either trauma or old patterns that psychologically are weighing on you. They're not helping you moving forward. It's a south node placement, right? So Mercury is near the south node, saying we gotta let go of something, some patterns of thinking that we don't need anymore. We need to transform them to something else. And then Venus is here. So the Sun and Venus together are saying relationship, old ways, old patterns of relationship, the way we relate to others through greed, through power, through domination, through those ways of inequality and using and abusing power, which is the shadow side of Scorpio, right? So all this shadow side needs to go, need to transform. And if we transform the shadow side of Scorpio, we always get immense healing, beautiful, powerful transformation of being in the center, of being powerful from a good place, from a spiritual place. So we all need to transform that. That's why we see so much trauma on the planet. That's why we see so much corruption, power domination, because we need to heal it. And if we don't see it, we cannot heal it. So it's coming up for us to heal it. So this is the one side of this lunar eclipse, because lunar eclipse is all about what you see. You can see better. Then we have the moon at 16 degrees Taurus, where right on Uranus. And what is Uranus? Change. Uranus is that agent of change that helps us see clearly where we're going. This is a north node position. Here's the north node at 13 degrees Taurus, saying, this is where you're going, people. Go there. This is where I'm pointing. The universe is pointing, saying, this is where you need to go, to the Taurus side. What is the Taurus side? Taurus side is about a natural rhythm. How do we human are living our life on this land, on Gaia, on this planet? How do we use our resources of the planet? How do we use our own resources? Are we living in harmony? Because Taurus wants to live in harmony. Are we doing that? Are we feeling, that's the moon right there, are we feeling what the planet is telling us about the way we live, or not? Are we abusing the planet and its resources, therefore abusing ourselves as well as a society and as individuals? And if we're listening to our emotions, that's the moon right there, we know something is wrong. We know we need to change. We know we need to embrace the feminine, right? Because Taurus is the sacred femininity, especially related to the earth, to the natural cycles and the rhythm and the natural surrounding of where we live. Can we live in harmony within ourselves, with the land and with others? So the moon is pointing there saying, you know, here's Uranus. I'm going to combine my energies. And moon Uranus can be really jolting, but it's a wake-up call. It's saying, people, wake up, realize what you're doing to the land and what you're doing to yourself by feeding yourself poison, by not cleaning up the mess that you've done. What's going to happen to you? It can be either jolting, Uranus, or it can be healing. And Uranus can show us the way to the Aquarius age of equality and working together and coming together as a sacred community to help each other live to the highest potential. All those are keywords for Uranus, especially in Taurus. So we see the monetary system collapsing, or the recession, right? We see all kind of old world companies changing and collapsing because the old ways are not working anymore. We need a paradigm shift. Saturn is right here in Aquarius, which is Uranus is its ruler, saying there must be a change in the system. Because if we want to make the system sustainable, Taurus, we need to change the way we do things. We need to come together as a community with like-minded people, thinking like-minded thoughts, creating like-minded actions to the better good of all. That is the Aquarius age. If we work together as a colony, look at the ants, look at the bees, they're working as a colony. They're successful, right? Unless we destroy them. So what do we want? Do we want destruction or do we want construction? Can we weather this emotional storm and come to a better place as human beings, as a human race? And if we work together, what can we achieve? We can achieve creating a new world, a new beautiful world. And we are learning on the planet right now that we are co-creators, right? Why do you think YouTube is full with the law of attraction and everybody's talking about it and The Secret and all those movies? Because we are finally understanding that everything we say, everything we think, everything we do creates our reality. And by realizing and being aware of this ability that we have, and that's the Uranus part, we realize that we have a choice to create this new future for ourselves. Every action that we take create a reaction. That is the law of karma, right? Action, reaction. So what kind of karma are we creating for ourselves individually and as a collective? So in a nutshell, that's what's going on. And we have Jupiter and Neptune together in Pisces, giving us the faith, giving us the ability to tap into the higher spiritual self, our highest soul level and spirit level, and having the ability to see to imagine a better future. Whatever you imagine can become a reality. So where are you taking this in your chart personally? Look at the axis of Taurus, Scorpio in your chart. This is where all those eclipses have been happening for the last year and a half and will happen until next year. This axis, by the time that the eclipses are finishing their transition in this axis will change forever for you. So those life departments will be different and you'll mature and grow, and you have been letting go of one side and creating the other side for yourself. So what are you creating? How are you becoming responsible for your life? This is the question. Every one of us is a small part, but such a necessary part. How are you doing your part? So that's it. That's my view of this eclipse and the story of the sequence of those eclipses. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm very grateful for you watching my channel. Thank you, guys. And as always, take care of yourself and become the best version of yourself today and every day. I will see you next time.